Following podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op, in affiliation with the network at bicbb-radio.com.
Hello there.
Welcome.
And welcome back. Welcome to another episode of the 716th Attack Legion podcast.
Hello there, and welcome back to the 716th Attack Legion podcast. We have a mismatched group today because Jordan got sick and Julian's car broke down, so...
Car got sick?
His car got sick, yes. So today we're joined with my dad, Paul, and our new special guest star, his first time on the channel, Zak. Welcome you two to the discussion of Ahsoka.
Zach's the main backup. When someone, he'll be on again. He'll be on again.
Podcast as well.
Yes,
the Beefy
he does.
podcast. Make sure you check it out.
He's immediately plugging.
Shameless promo. You gotta do what you gotta
immediate
do.
plug.
But yeah, I like to think I know.
And
a
if
little
you
about
like
Star
Star
Wars,
Trek,
so.
you can tune into
Oh,
the Double
gosh,
Fist
now
Punch
we're-
podcast.
And if you like a dad and son talking, you can see that once a month, like when we decide to do it, right, Dad? Right.
Well, we got too busy doing these other podcasts.
Yeah.
Everyone
true.
in here has their own podcast, apparently.
So,
Not me. Anyway,
Paul,
for my
catch
dad.
up.
Yeah, come on.
Anyway, this podcast is to talk about Star Wars, and today, we're doing the series we're talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about the whole series of Ahsoka from... we're not gonna spend not gonna spend like...
We're not going to go like episode to
Yeah,
episode,
we're
but
not,
we
yeah.
have some overall talking points that we wrote up, or you wrote up,
Yeah.
because I didn't do any of that work.
Christian only does work on the videos that he wants to do.
No. No, I just spend copious amounts of hours on them and get no work done. So that's about right.
So I guess the first thing is, what was everyone's, like, now that we've had time to sit with it and like possibly rewatch it, what was our overall likes and dislikes ratings of the show?
I mean, me personally, I just don't know how if you, as a Star Wars fan, you can dislike this show. Like, it's just everything we've been asking for as a fan base, bar maybe, I know people's biggest complaint is the lightsaber fights still aren't to the standard that
Oh, I thought
they
they
wanted.
were
But I thought this
great.
is the best we've had since Episode 3, obviously. But, you know, I just think people are just nitpicking at that point because I don't think there's too much wrong with this show. I mean, I think it's like a 9.5 out of 10 as a Star Wars show.
I actually just watched the promo, the Master and Apprentice kind of behind the scenes thing today, and Dave Filoni says in that, he was like, we have to make sure that the lightsaber fights are right because the fans will know. They'll know if they're not up to par with everything else that happens in Star Wars.
And they were better. The choreography was significantly improved.
I think it just feels kind of slow at times. I think that would be, if I'm nitpicking, sometimes it feels like they're moving in not slow motion, but it's just a little too slow at certain points. But they're all getting used to it. I mean, obviously we all want more of Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen
Right.
going 100 miles per hour.
I've seen
but-
some people don't like that, weirdly enough. So
The super fast lightsaber
yeah,
fights?
some people don't like the prequels one because they feel it's like there's like not enough weight or whatever, which I can understand, kind of, but they still look the best. They're still the best choreographed, just like by principle.
100%.
They're the best choreographed ones, whether or not you agree with like the overall thought process behind with the actual scene.
Dad, how'd you feel
No, I
about
loved it.
Ahsoka?
It pulled so much from so many different of the different series. Yeah, you couldn't help but love this one. So yeah, I was thoroughly impressed with this overall. I didn't have, well, we talked about it a little bit. I had a couple of complaints about the last episode, but not anything horribly.
Yeah, my last
If I
episode
have
was
to
like-
nitpick, yeah, that was my only.
My dad...
What were you gonna say,
Yeah,
Christian?
some of my lesser like things that kind of rubbed me the wrong way about the season were actually in the last episode. I would think now that I've like thought on them a little bit.
And what did you think?
It was a very like abrupt shift not to have like Baylan and Shin in that episode at all. And not that there was just, I think it was almost like they suffered from having too many villains like present on the board at that point.
Okay.
And again, we're gonna get a lot of a different Baylan, obviously, and Shin next season, whatever that's gonna be. But it kind of like shifted to the less interesting villains, kind of, because like not like obviously like if we've watched other things, you think Thrawn is a big threat and you know Thrawn, but like maybe if you were into this like your first time seeing Thrawn, like he might not have been like. You probably weren't as into him as you were to Baylan.
Yeah.
Or, like, even to Shin for some people who I've seen, like, very much like Shin as a character as well. But, yeah, that's the main thing. Otherwise, I think the worst, the weakest, some of the weakest choreography ended up being in the finale, unfortunately.
Which fight and the finale
specifically just certain types of, like, their movement, just as they were, like, kind of fighting their way up the tower was a bit awkward at times. Nothing, like, too bad, but just... suffering from that like kind of like standstill like for too long type thing. I don't know if that's like a good way to describe it, but I don't know. Otherwise, I think like I don't know. I think it was just weird that I think the best lightsaber fight was in episode 4.
Ahsoka versus Baylan. Was
Ahsoka versus Baylan's the best one. So
I very much liked Ahsoka versus Anakin as well. Their short duel in the
I don't view that as
worlds.
quite like the same. If that makes sense. Yeah.
And it's more Anakin kind of just toying with her.
Oh,
yeah,
100%.
Like obviously like his whole thing is like it's time to die, but he's never was planning on killing her. It's just kind of making her understand what she needs to do in the moment and getting her to understand that more than anything, obviously.
Yeah. But overall, like, I guess I'll give the rest of mine and then I'll let you
go.
Go ahead. Like, I'm mostly satisfied as somebody who's not been satisfied by everything Disney related, as I'm the most skeptical on this show, I think, usually. And this did most of what I wanted for a Star Wars show. I don't know. I don't think you needed to. Like again, I've watched all the cartoons plenty of times and stuff, so I definitely imagine you get a lot more out of it if you know all like the other things and have watched all that stuff. Which I mean, if you're against the shows doing that, I don't know. Like watch the lore, like watch the shows. Like it happens. Like otherwise, I don't know. I'm mostly positive. I think it's about like I don't know, like for a Star Wars show, like an 8.5. I would think. I think there's room, like it could have been better in certain places, but like a very, very solid. Something that Star Wars definitely needed just with the direction it went. And like just the overall feel of just like kind of tying like different parts of the universe, different characters that don't interact as often like together. Like it tied Rebels to like the OT characters. Like it almost felt like a novel at times, like the way that like the Star Wars novels often use like the side characters, and they'll just have full conversations with like a main character, like Leia or something. And she got mentioned in 3PO.
3PO showed
not
up.
that I really care about cameos like that, but that was a nice.
That was a really good cameo.
Yeah, it was kind of similar to how I feel about like Rogue One, where like Rogue One feels like because there's like Chopper in the background, you hear like General Syndulla's voice over the phone, and there's some of the other stuff that you kind of saw visually in Rebels. Like it kind of felt like connecting the dots of like the prequels, the OT, and even like Rebels, which existed, and Clone Wars a little bit at that point. Because Saw Gerrera is in it, so this kind of felt like the closest thing to that, like in a while.
Nice.
And if like Andor was like the themes of Rogue One, like this was more like the culmination, like the bring together the universe of Rogue One. That's how I view it, at least.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
What were you gonna say?
I thought that, for me personally, being the utmost positive person on the the podcast, I thought it was great. I thought it was a 9 or a 10 out of 10. Julian talked about this in our last podcast, but it was it hit everything that we wanted, and almost every fan like theory that we had, it hit the mark. Mm-hmm. Like we got World Between Worlds, we got Anakin, we got two versions of Anakin. Like
I think I called
4 different.
I
versions
think
of
I think
Anakin.
I called 3 versions. I think I called 3 because I think I might have even said each one. I said World Between Worlds, Force Ghost. I think I said Flashback, which I guess if you count the other part of the World Between Worlds, that counts.
Yeah, I think that counts.
I don't think I guess I didn't say hologram.
Jordan said hologram.
Someone else, but yet, which I didn't think about, but that's the whole Rebels thing they brought back as well. So, see, smart writing.
I mean, that's my thing. Is because I mean, obviously we kind of knew Anakin was going to be in the series, and then they pretty much I don't know if they like made it official or not, or if it was kind of just like assumed. But obviously, with those movies that I don't even know if they really exist anymore. We can see how they can ruin a character. So it's always a bit of hesitation on it when it comes around.
I gave
to
Zach
it.
a lobotomy. He doesn't remember that part of his brain.
I just have a very like there's so many things I'd rather do than watch 8 and 9 again. There's so many things I'd rather do.
At least we're all kind of positive. At least we're all kind of
Root
positive
canal.
with 7.
I'm like positive on 7, like
Is it
very
standalone?
surface level, but it's like a very surface level in a bubble. Like nothing else came out after it, right? Like there was no issues behind the scenes, right? Like. I read today they nearly blew up Coruscant instead of Hosnian Prime, which is just like, oh yeah, we don't need that.
We don't need the
we don't,
center of
we
the
don't need
galaxy.
there's been so much lore and like stuff on Coruscant. There's a trillion beings. They're like, oh yeah, we don't need. Invent
All right,
invent another
all
planet
right.
that looks like Coruscant that everyone will think is Coruscant, because I don't think they said the name in the. Did they say the name of the planet in the
Yeah,
movie?
they said it.
Okay.
Rich, what was your takeaway?
I'm kind of like Zach and Jack. I think I was looking for a bunch of things, and I got all the things I wanted to see. I'm a guy that was late to animation, but I really feel like this is the first thing that took everything from Star Wars that we've gotten and tied it all together in one package. There were a lot of things that they could have done, and they would have had no purpose. But we did everything that we got. Our cameos and our characters being brought back all made sense perfectly, and they weren't just gratuitous. Like, oh my God, it's, whoever. Like, it was, no, they all made sense within what they did. And they weren't exactly what we thought they were going to be. I think that showed good writing. And they didn't give us everything. Like, everybody still wants to see, like, Zeb, and we'll get him. But, like, it's not yet. And we didn't get, we're going to have to get some type of legacy characters back. And that would have been too much in this season.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that we're giving you a little bit, but they all seem to make sense within the story. And that's why I could care less if that, the weight on the lightsaber, that stuff I don't care, because I got to see Ahsoka fight.
There's a brick in this frame. We can't have that.
Yeah, like, why do they have bricks?
I mean, at least there wasn't some
and
dude
all
in
that stuff.
jeans
So,
in the background.
So for me,
I thought they literally described.
I just really liked. I just liked what they did with it, and I'm gonna give it a 9.2, just because I
Haven't they literally described? But cool, yeah. This is like, great.
Well, it's just like next of kin.
Back to what I'm saying.
It's just like next of kin.
Yeah, it's very much like next to kin. I don't even remember what I was gonna say.
Describing
Just like next of
lightsabers.
kin.
Haven't they described lightsabers as like directing like like the weight of it isn't necessarily like the fact that it has like weight. It's more that the current is like almost like direct. Like,
That's what
the current
Kanan said.
has,
You're
like,
directing
Yeah,
the
exactly.
No,
and like
I get what you're
and
saying.
the
though.
power
You're
kind of draws like kind of his
what we
weight
got
in the
was
same
we got
way.
different
like,
types of lightsaber fights in this, and not one style, which I
Yeah.
thought was cool actually.
No, it was good
Ahsoka's-
variety.
And I thought there was
Ahsoka's
a
more
lot of things that it
quick-paced,
wasn't
Baylan-
just
If you
we
actually
got-
know your lightsaber forms, which again you can't, like if you're a fucking geeky enough, you can like really get and like train yourself with like that. They were paid. This is the most like accurate to like lightsaber form like type thing I think I've seen.
Yeah.
Especially for some of the fights, mainly between like the different Jedi characters, it would really devolve into like.
But even
like
those
Ahsoka
were
would literally
different
switch.
depending.
Yeah.
Ahsoka was different depending on who she
Ahsoka
was
would
fighting.
switch lightsaber form mid-fight.
Yeah,
like
she would.
obviously, like she would switch from like her form with like a would reverse to like a normal one to the duels like in the front, then to Anakin's if she had like one saber. Like she was doing a bunch.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
which is cool that like again she should be that powerful. She's that proficient in like that many.
Yeah,
lightsaber
Anakin's trained her
abilities at
in
this
a
point.
ton of different lightsaber forms.
All right, we going.
Yeah.
What's in the next one?
Well, I wrote this one for Jordan just because I know that he doesn't like Shin, but actor portrayal. Was there anyone that you didn't like and how they portrayed their character?
Me personally, I had no issue with anybody.
Me either.
Like I know I heard some early issues with like Hera early on, and I feel like she kind of squashed that as like within the second episode, the first couple episodes. I haven't watched Rebels like start to finish. Admittedly, I've only pretty much seen the important stuff,
the essentials.
But I don't have like. I mean, I don't know. I still like really enjoy all the characters from Rebels. I don't feel like there's an issue with any of them, in my personal opinion, at least.
Christian?
No, I got, especially for like obviously the reportrayals or the adaptations of characters from animation. I thought most of them were pretty spot on. I don't even know that any of them were particularly like weak. If anything, Hu Yang came back and became a better character.
He really did.
And Hu Yang was already a really solid character. Like David Tennant got like an Emmy or something for like his performance for that, or at least a nomination. What else? Sabine and Ezra, I think I've sung the praises of those performances for a while.
So good.
Rosario Dawson, again, in the earlier episodes, I think some of the criticisms are occasionally valid, like with the lack of acting, but I think she was kind of doing what she was directed to do with the stoic thing and trying to do like Rebels Ahsoka, which is a lot more stoic. And people were just kind of wanting the Ahsoka that everyone really likes, which is like Clone Wars Ahsoka. Rebels Ahsoka is cool and badass, but like everyone really likes like Clone Wars Ahsoka, which is kind of what she goes back to by the end of the season.
After she gets her spark back.
So yeah, I'm pretty happy with everyone's portrayal. I don't think any performance was bad on like a technical level. Even like the kid was good. So which if I think the kid
Jason was great.
Yeah, if I don't mind the kid, that's a compliment. I usually don't like the kid. So
Dad?
No, I thought everybody was every character was spot on. I watched all the Rebels, and each character as they were came on, I thought were spot on. So I loved them all. Chopper was great. For as animated as he is in the series, they got it like spot on there. So, Ezra, I loved. There were some criticisms about Ezra, but I thought he was great too. So
yeah, I didn't get any of those criticisms.
I
think he was the most accurate to the cartoon.
Exactly.
Weirdly enough, and Sabine was doing a very good job of being like her character.
Yeah.
Like in the show as the animated one. So
I'm just happy that you used Thrawn's voice actor. I always forget which.
Lars Mikkelsen.
Yeah,
I can't believe that everyone was like, "Oh yeah, like let's petition Lucasfilm for like the voice actor, and then we'll body shame him like the second he shows up." It's like he's 70. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
Like he has the perfect voice. Like,
but I thought he even looked great.
I thought he looked great.
I didn't have
Even
any problem with
stormtroopers.
this. Yeah,
I thought the pants were a little baggy, but that's just more of a style.
that's
thing.
costuming at least.
He's been on a planet for what 20 years now.
yeah.
It's nothing. It's just like a stupid thing.
There
It's
were
not
no
like
tailors on the ship, so
Yeah, it's not like I'm mad at it. It's just I thought the pants were a little baggy.
Rich.
I liked everything. I mean, I thought the casting was good. Obviously the
real diversity of
Ray,
opinion.
Obviously I'm a huge Doctor Who fan.
This might be the least controversial.
Dave
of
Tennant.
our podcast.
Dave Tennant. I thought that they took a character which was really not a major character in Rebels or Clone Wars or anything, and turned it into something really fun. And really ended up being a lot of exposition within the giving Ahsoka to have someone to interact with. I thought Sabine's really good. I think Hera's really good. I think Hera seems like Hera from Rebels. Like she seems like the mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she came across like a mom. I don't know. I thought everybody was good. I thought the bad guys were all good. I liked the casting of the witches. They're all, if you look at the actresses, they're all like actresses from other sci-fi. Thrawn's assistant's one of my favorite actors from The Expanse. So I like that they're bringing in actors that attract
and he's going to be
fan
important.
bases. Mm-hmm. But the portrayals are just spot on. My favorite one was someone was complaining because he thought that the actor from playing Thrawn didn't sound like the guy from the animated television. That was my favorite.
Oh my
comment.
God.
I'm like, you don't even know what
you have
Google
cognitive
is.
dissonance, my
Be
man.
quiet. Don't have any more. No, but in terms of casting's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. I think Enoch's going to be around a lot too, because I think Enoch is we already had Rook like from the books, and they killed him in Rebels. So I think they're like, all right, we'll give him a new one. Like, so he'll do the role of what Rook had, like in the books and stuff. And I'm just weirdly enough that we didn't get Pelion at all this season.
Well, yeah, that's like a few things that I saw. It was like
I thought Pelion would have.
Did we forget something? Nah, we wouldn't have forgot if it was that important. And then
there was a few things in the finale that we didn't get. That I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. Like,
I have to assume that he'd be a bigger part in season 2.
even people are like, why aren't they going after, like, why is Thrawn not the big of a threat? He's not going after these guys. And I'm like, well, you do realize, like, he has to, like, only has these many resources, and these resources are not just to, like, just kill the 3 Jedi that are here or whatever. Like, he has to get back, like, there, and then he has to assume that every, because again, they're warlords at this point. They're not just all, like, yes, they have a council, but they're all doing their own thing. And he's probably gonna have to, like, put down a few warlords as well. So he needs all the resources he can for that as well. But yes, him being, like, reserved with some of his, like, assets, like, does make sense. It's not just, like, plot contrivance.
Yeah.
Yes, it is written for that, but at least it has a solid enough lore reasoning behind it.
I know he doesn't know it yet, but I mean, he still has to deal with Luke Skywalker.
He has to deal with Luke and Leia Skywalker.
Like, when he, like, can you imagine, like, I mean, we might get the scene, we might not get the scene, but, like, can you imagine the reaction when he gets Luke's profile? Like, assumingly a Jedi Master. Who trained him? We don't know. The son of Anakin Skywalker walked out of a room with Vader and the Emperor alive. Like this guy, like, what?
I saw that on Twitter or something. That people were like, I want to see, like, the Imperials react, like, because we saw it a little bit with Gideon.
Yeah,
like Gideon does what's his name, Esposito, like, realized that in that moment, like, he should do, like, fear, because, like, that's what the Imperial. I'm glad he thought that.
Yeah.
Like, and to do that, but that's, like, I want to see that, like, a room full of Imperials have, like, palpable fear. Because even there was, like, one book that I remember that was, like, canon, where it's like a legend that, like, Luke Skywalker, like, jumped from, like, a Star Destroyer to another Star Destroyer and, like, cut it down. Which, again, is totally just, like, we're propping him up because we're so fearful of him in, like, our mind that we've made, like, these crazy-ass, like, legends about him.
Yeah.
But I want to see, like, the palpable, like, fear of, like, just a room of Stormtroopers or, like, a bunch of Imperials. Or, like, even Thrawn, kind of, like...
Like, Thrawn's like, we have to deal with Luke, and the whole, like,
we gotta deal
the
with
whole
Luke's-
table's
yeah,
like, I heard that he, like, brought down a Star Destroyer
It's like he's
in orbit.
He had an apprentice and a son. Like, he had an apprentice. It's like fuck. All right, is that it for that?
Yeah,
or?
I think. Or, do you have anything else?
Nope. No.
One thing I wanted to bring up as well is unfortunately Shauna Tripkick, I think is how you pronounce her name.
Yeah, the
she's a costume designer on, like, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and I think some of the other Disney Plus stuff, and even on, like, Firefly, which from back in the day, the one season that had.
Good show.
Yeah, I think she had, like, Emmy nominees and stuff like that, but she was, like, very, very well respected in the industry. Like, had been on a lot of Star Wars stuff, like, been on the Mandalorian team especially, and I've had my ups and downs with the Mandalorian and some of the Disney Plus Star Wars stuff, but the costuming, I can say, was very rarely the issue. And I don't know, she's just very talented, gone too soon. So.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Anyway,
well,
next?
speaking about rest in peace, let's talk about Baylan. What power from the gods is he after, and what do you think that he's going to do with it? I saw a lot of fan theories thinking that he might replace the sun, and I know that Jordan had that kind of same thought when we were talking about it in the group chat. Obviously he's after, like, Mortis God stuff. And I know that Christian doesn't like it, but the Abeloth theory kind of holds true because she is a Mortis God.
That's what I was gonna.
I always forget that Abeloth is related. Yeah.
So, like, what do we think is happening with Baylan? In that, like, while we were doing the reaction, me and Christian were like, where is Baylan throughout the entire show? And then we get this one little snippet of him literally on the arm of a god. Like, so where are our minds with him and what he's doing?
So the Abeloth theory, I don't know a whole lot about it. I've just kind of seen, like, TikToks and stuff on it, but it's very interesting to me. I can see that almost being like a Shang-Chi kind of thing, where it's like she's calling to him to set her free in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what role he would have in helping her at that point. Like, I don't know if he would assume the position of the sun at that point or anything like that. Like, I don't know enough about the lore or anything like that to know. But that theory is, in terms of having a fear of something else on it, I know that's probably not what Thrawn was afraid of, but the witches might have known or the Great Mothers might have known what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think that theory might stand true. I don't know how it would play into the whole entire story, but I find that theory interesting. I don't know how, like I said, I don't know how true that theory is going to be.
Well, I assume whatever they encountered there was like. Well, I guess, like, it's weird because, like, now the Night Sisters have, like, a very, very close connection to this all with, like, the Mortis God stuff, which is weird and a new wrench in things. But isn't there a light or something we can see?
Yes, there is a light on the mountaintop that Baylan's looking at across the way.
Is it the sun? Not the sun from the Mortis God arc, the literal sun.
I don't think so. It's more of like a vertical kind of like rectangular oblong light that's shooting upwards.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like the sun of the planet.
Sure. Okay. I'm just trying to think. Like
I saw a picture, and it was when Anakin was on Mortis, and he was looking out into the field. He sees a light very similar, and that was like the temple of the Mortis gods.
Okay, yeah, that could work. That could, yeah. Could they go to? Could it just be the Mortis plane again?
It could be.
Like it's another entrance or whatever. Like, or it's the ship they were in that crashed on this planet. Like
the Jedi cruiser.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, whatever thing they found floating around in space that they teleported.
Well, we never
to.
knew where they were. I mean,
yeah.
So theoretically, this could be that planet.
It could be.
Right.
Well, the Mortis God planet did a weird, like, when it turned to night, like, everything died. It's like when it turned to day, like, everything went back to life. So it's definitely in, like, some pocket dimension, like, thing. With similar to what, like, Yoda went to. Like, when, you know what I'm talking about, like, in the end of Clone Wars or whatever.
With the wheels.
Yeah, with the wheels. That was kind of like a weird pocket thing as well, kind of, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he had to be. He didn't fight like an actual Shadow Yoda.
He fought an actual Yoda.
He better not have fought an actual Shadow Yoda. Like,
Dad, I know that you're not too caught up with all the fan theories, but what do you think that Baylan?
Well, I think we kind of talked about this a little bit before that possibly, you know, we said that he could be the son and Shin could be the daughter. So I don't know if that's a plausible theory. What do you think?
I definitely think that there's something out there that's going, like we talked about this on an earlier podcast. I don't necessarily think that it might be Abeloth. I don't know if Dave's gonna go that far deep into Star Wars lore.
What is Abeloth from? I don't even remember.
She's from an old book.
Is it Legends?
Yeah.
Like is it like pre-Mortis God arc?
I don't know.
Like, okay.
Like I remember seeing basically is that like they took the father.
TikTok, you can let us know.
It's from when I've seen it. It took the father, the son, and the daughter to like basically trap her because she's that powerful. So, but she was like just pretty much just pure evil was the best way to describe it. So it's.
I'm trying to think.
I don't know how like accurate it is. That's just kind of what I've seen. I mean,
so it's from a Jason
parallel.
Solo Legends.
Oh, interesting. I'm trying to think of a Lord of the Rings parallel because a lot of it I think you've been able to predict. Honestly, with weird Lord of the Rings, like the Ahsoka the White thing, you were able to predict if you did like, and she's kind of a Gandalf-y thing. Baylan's a knight, which kind of like fits into that vibe. So I'm trying to think of if like that thing could be like a Sauron-y.
I guess she's kind of like a Sauron.
That's what the light is off in the distance. It's literally just Sauron.
That's what I assume.
The Eye of Sauron.
It's the Eye of Sauron.
I mean, that's kind of is that the last shot besides Zanuck? I mean, it's kind of like isn't that the last shot of one of the Lord of the Rings movies? Just like they're on like the hill and they in the fucking Sauron and Mortis, not Mortis. What am I talking about? Mordor. Yeah, that's the one. That's the
one
place.
Does not simply walk into
That's the
Mordor.
red place. That's the red place.
I don't think that like we had theories earlier in the show where we thought that he was gonna go back in time and stop the Jedi Order from falling. I don't think he gives that vibe where he's like, I want to go save the Jedi Order. I think that he wants something completely new, whether it be power of his own to start a new Jedi Order or some kind of order or some kind of power to like rule over this new galaxy that he's found.
Well, we got more to sense that was kind of why he was going off on his own to for whatever his task is and why he kind of separates from his apprentice and, well, you're on your own now. Good luck to you. And because he sees he's got this bigger purpose. And obviously, you know, like we knew we all knew, like we talked about it on the podcast and our reactions, that he clearly had some plan.
Yeah.
And there's clearly a reason why Thrawn wanted to get the hell out of there too. So there's just a lot of things that we don't know, and I think it's going to be fun just to find out.
Well, there's probably something part of like he literally seems to have got all this from like literal Jedi temple like fairy tales, which is interesting. So I literally think he's like looking for like the weapon or the reward at the end of like a fairy tale, like that the Jedi Temple like told the kids and stuff.
I wonder if it's because when I had to assume that Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka had to make a report on where they went.
But they did, because in Rebels, like what's his name, the archaeologist guy, when he's talking to Palpatine, says like, I found a report from the Jedi.
I wonder if
Baylan
also was like obviously he was around during the Clone Wars, so he could have theoretically found a data or holocron about.
Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe that was news. I don't know if they like hid that information to the rest of the Jedi or not. But I assume Obi-Wan.
But they can yada that if it just makes sense for them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think we'll get a Baylan flashback at some point, because there seems to be some like unspoken relationship between like him and Anakin that like they didn't explore. They alluded to this season, but didn't really like explore too in depth beyond like.
How old do we think Baylan is in this series?
Probably the same as like the actor. He's like Bray Stevenson was like 56, 57. I mean, he was a Jedi Knight. They said when the order happened, so it's about 30 years at this point.
Baylan and Anakin could have technically trained together.
See, I don't know. So I think it'll be something like that. That'll either be like in the same
I think
class
they're about
as Anakin.
The same age.
Yeah.
I assume. Yeah, that's what
Anakin would have been if he didn't die. Like whatever.
Yeah, I assume he's either a few years older than Anakin, and like I think like how they met would probably have either been like they grew up at the temple, but like interacted at the temple together in like the same like graduating like
I think
class
Anakin was
or whatever.
45 when he died.
Something like that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
They could have easily.
But I think he looks about the right age to be like an Order 66 survivor for a human. Like if it's been 30 years since then, so, which he does. So
to me, like he just it's that with like in terms of him knowing Anakin, it seems like he almost not watch him from afar, but almost kind of watched Anakin at some point, or kind of like took interest in Anakin. And I think he realized how powerful Anakin was while he was training, or probably heard like his master or his master talking with like other Jedi masters about it. I mean, I would love a Tales of the Jedi with Baylan.
Yes!
I think that's like the perfect Tales of the Jedi thing. Like, you could give me 6 episodes of just Baylan, and I'd be so interested in all of it.
I'm interested on who Baylan's master was.
Yeah.
Well, he's the only one that like, what's his name said, like had chosen like that style lightsaber. So whoever his masters didn't even like use that like style of combat. So it's interesting. Pong Krell.
Pong Krell. I mean, that's
just another
it
big
could
guy.
be.
Jaro Tapal.
Platoon.
Oppo Rancesis.
All right.
This next one comes in memory of Jordan, who's bedridden. Shin. What do we think? What's up with her and the Raiders?
I assume she's just like gotta lead them.
That's what I thought
an
too.
Episode or two, because they need a villain to be like fodder. They need some like fodder for the first episode or something. Yeah.
Jordan thought that she was gonna take on the full mantle of a Sith Lord and like.
I will say that
rule over the Raiders.
I would say that shot looked almost like Anakin and like the Sand People for some reason. I don't know why.
She's gonna slaughter them.
Yeah, it looked like she was just randomly gonna like. That's what I thought at first when I first saw it. I'm like, is she just gonna like run at them and like go on a killing spree?
She's gonna turn into Batman and like, where's Baylan?
Yeah,
where are the other Sith Lords going?
Just like lead them.
I don't think that's going to be important at all.
No, probably not. No, I think that was
she needs allies, so she's going to use them
Yeah.
and then get crushed.
They're her clone troopers.
Yeah,
you know,
they're going to
basically.
get crushed because she doesn't realize who's still there on the planet.
I
with her.
don't think she knows.
Baylan's around, but yeah,
She knows Baylan's there, but that's it. She doesn't know.
I guess
Ahsoka's
she
there.
assumes they didn't get off, but like, yeah. I guess she probably assumes they're still there, but sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I assume that she kind of was like recruiting them almost to go look for Baylan, because I think she's kind of just like, well, what do I do now?
Do I have a lightsaber?
Like, I'm kind of just stuck on this random planet I don't know anything about. Like, maybe they saw Baylan go somewhere. So
she had an alliance with them, so she needs to eat and survive.
Like, I'm
and
back.
have
Right.
shelter
In my opinion, she's kind of establishing herself as a leader of the Raiders almost, because she's just. But
yeah, it was like establishing dominance.
She needs allies. She doesn't know what's
Right.
on this planet. She doesn't know what Baylan's looking for. Like, for all she knows, Baylan's gonna come marching back. With
For all she
whatever
knows,
he's
Ezra's
looking
still
for.
there.
Yeah, for all he knows, Ahsoka's still there. Like,
And Ezra beat her up without a lightsaber. So.
Yeah. so
did Ahsoka.
she's just like, I
Literally
need.
just-
She's like, I need allies. I just need to find a way to survive and figure out what the hell I'm gonna do from here.
Do we think that? Okay, so we talked about this in a previous podcast, and I brought it up that do we think that at some point next season Shin will switch sides, or do you think that she's kind of loyal to Baylan?
I mean, she's been like betrayed now, but she wasn't trained as a Sith, and if anything, actually.
I don't think so. I
think she might still.
Well, she's going to be a Sith now.
She
It
can
just
very
seems
much
like
go
so
either way
random.
because she very much kind of gave off the vibe that like yes, he was training her in like this weird not Jedi but something more role, but like she was kind of like always like on the edge of like doing some dark side shit. So, but she can go either way. So, but she's been betrayed now, which you would think like, oh, she's been betrayed by the guy who's kind of a Sith, so maybe she'll be good now. But to someone who's already almost a Sith, that might just might still be a dark side.
Well,
like,
she could be Darth
Maul.
Maul in it now, like where she just her
Yeah.
only
Yeah,
goal
another-
is to
a
kill,
third party,
is
yeah.
to kill Baylan. Like that,
Yeah.
she's just mad at him because she's stuck.
Or maybe she's just following him like a lost puppy. We don't really know. So
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, I
We don't even know how he acquired
one
her,
way or
really.
another for her. Like she was, I think she's confused, or not confused, but she doesn't have her mind made up exactly which way she's going.
I think she has a lot of potential as a character,
She
Yeah,
really
I agree.
does.
I agree.
Yeah. I loved Shin in the series.
depending on what they do with her. Like, hopefully she's gonna get like sidelined as like a side character.
And maybe
type
that's
thing,
why
but-
they didn't, peg her one way or another to kind of, as the audience.
Well, even Baylan's not like
Receptive,
doesn't come across as
receives her.
like overly nefarious at times. Like he has a plan that he's like doing it no matter what. Nobody will get in his way. But we don't necessarily know. Like he doesn't strike. He's not a Sith. Like we know that.
He's
Right.
not particularly evil.
Not that Sith are like inherently.
I mean,
well,
even like with
kind of.
Ahsoka, he's like, I don't really want to kill her, but like I'll do what I have to do to get what
Yeah.
I want. It's kind. He's not like evil. He's just kind of trying to get what he wants or what he feels his destiny is. Because
Right,
this
exactly.
is really a trip of destiny for him. It's not. It's not that he's evil or that he because he could have easily just been like, my goal is just to help the Empire retake the galaxy, and
Yeah.
he's like, no, that's not really what I'm here for. So
I just wanted the free ride.
yeah.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Okay, so I've seen a lot. I'm very surprised about this.
I'm not. This is I can you can
Yeah,
go
I
and
know
I'll tell
why-
you.
I know
and
why
I'll
people are
explain,
saying this too.
and I'll explain it
So
to you.
many people are so upset that Sabine is using the Force. I've seen so many people call Sabine a Mary Sue, and they are so upset that it's like a race situation where she automatically just learned how to use the Force in this moment. And I'm like, that's not true though.
They literally said that Ahsoka was training her.
Do people realize that the first time, Luke, what does Luke do with the Force? Like Luke's first time using the Force, he blows up the Death Star.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
First time, so again, it's totally a, there is a and again, I'll happily say this, and I'll call out not anyone by name, but everyone knows who these channels are. There's very much an economy on YouTube of just anything Disney related, but especially Star Wars. You just kind of do hate clicks. You just do no matter what, we'll take any argument against anything, especially if it has to do with a female, a person of color, anything else of that sort. Especially go hard at it because again, there's people that just want their opinion reaffirmed, their hate reaffirmed, and stuff like that. Otherwise, no, Sabine Wren isn't a Mary Sue. She's a 9-year-old character. We've seen her be trained by Jedi back in Rebels. Before that, she was already proficient in normal blades because she's a Mandalorian, which means she's been trained in combat and just overall stuff since birth. You could always even attune why she was so good with all that shit as to being vaguely Force sensitive already and just not being tapped into it. In terms of the Force, yes, training and discipline, but belief is also a massive factor. She had training into it very obviously. She had discipline, kind of, to an extent. She's Mandalorian discipline, not Jedi discipline per se.
also had
But she
some
doesn't
pretty
have
big
the
discipline
belief.
on her.
Not to mention she had mental barriers, and she's not a very. They literally said in the thing. She wouldn't be like a strong Jedi. She wouldn't have been a candidate.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know why people think she's like tough, because like she used the Force and she killed one stormtrooper. Like it's because that's what they're complaining. Like every other stormtrooper she killed, like or whatever everyone else she fought. Like she fought Shin like multiple times and survived, another Force user without the Force at that point. Like to the point where she literally tried and failed, like during the fight. So like, but you're mad that she like when she was about to die. Actually, you know what? Want to know? Actually, it's perfect. Actually, she's very much in the line of Kanan's Jedi, which a Kanan is a Jedi that for whatever reason had the capacity to use like love in their emotion, but not like allow it to spiral into like the way that like Anakin would like allow it to spiral into like evil.
Right, yeah.
Like Kanan is very much a Jedi that somehow once he lost his sight and like gained some different other stuff, like realize that no, you can use like for Hera, like that whole like episode is about like just using like like in the end, like he keeps like all of that like energy away, like the fire and stuff around them, and that's yes, it's his life force and his force power or whatever, but he's doing it through like his emotion, not through hate. Like that's how powerful like his love for Hera and like Sabine and Ezra is in that moment. So like yeah, maybe like seeing Ezra like almost die, and you're almost about to die. So yeah, like, and you just had the conversation with Ahsoka that they set up, which I don't know if people are just like not watching the show, but like they set it up. She said she'd been training, which we kind of knew. She had the saber. She went for the saber before she went for her Mandalorian armor, like in like the first episode.
And also in previous episodes, we broke down like a lot of examples of things from Rebels that really in our mind laid out the fact that she had some. No one ever said she was Luke Skywalker power level. She maybe, like you said, maybe she would have never even.
They said she wouldn't have been a candidate.
Wasn't high enough, but enough that she could. Literally, all she did with the Force is call the lightsaber into her
She
hand.
did the two most basic.
She
did the two most basic.
And this is an older idea. Like these are the same people that at one point like
they're just mad because they said all this. They posted that she didn't have the Force, and then they were wrong.
But what type of that too? But like there is a level of that as well. Right. But like even like. I think Filoni's been planning it for years.
I think so too.
Dude, there is a shot in the first episode, and I'll let you go in a second. Yeah. But and I've said this before on this. There is a literal shot in what's it called? In like the first episode where Sabine trains to use the Darksaber, and it's like we get a lot of like what our evidence is now for why she might be Force sensitive. He's like there's 3 of those little condor birds, which again are related to Ahsoka, kind of. They're not. It's not Morai, but there's those same kind of species lives on this planet. Yeah. And there's 2 of them perched because again, like guess what? There's symbolism in cartoons, like a lot actually, and every frame is very particular to cartoon. Like so, like that's why I dislike when everyone like storyboarding is very, very, very important to cartoon, and sometimes when people switch over, it works really well, and that's a really good moment. But either way, there's 2 of those birds to represent Kanan and Ezra, master and apprentice, already Force users, and then another one flies up and kind of perks itself a few feet away, not right near them, but like a decent amount away. Just showing like, oh nope, another one's at the table. Like another one's here now. Like there's another. Like, and it was just for subtle. And then Bendu looking at her in the same episode, or even the end, like when they use the wolves to travel through the portal. She's the only other one besides Ezra to hear Kanan's voice, like in that like time portal. Anyway, someone else talk.
I was just gonna say. I'll admit I was somebody that didn't think Sabine was going to be a Jedi. And then after he said, because we had this discussion, I was like, I don't know if they need that. Like, they already have Ahsoka and Ezra. And,
I'm not sure if they needed it either.
But what I kind of went back and looked at everything, and I went back to Sabine using the Darksaber for the first time. And she was surprisingly, like, very competent with it on the first time use. And we've seen somebody who's very highly skilled in combat, like Mando, completely struggle with it and give it up because he's like, I don't know how to use this. Mm-hmm. And clearly Mando is somebody that's never going to have Force ability. And I think people kind of thought
there was a little bit of theory about it.
I mean, I think most people are like, no, he's just gonna. It's just kind of like
he's gonna give it away. Yeah. That's what the theory was.
It's kind of just like what's his face that Jon Favreau voiced. I kind of know I can't do it. Yeah, like, I think it was kind of just like a Paz Vizsla kind of thing. And obviously, but then you have somebody like Bo-Katan, who's very good at it, but also spent years training with it. But like, I think Sabine's just natural ability with it, I think kind of was like, hey, there's a sign right here. And when I kind of watched it back, I'm like, maybe I'm wrong. Like, it's just comparing it. I mean, obviously, just from like a size basis too, Mando is much physically stronger than her. And obviously that's not something that's important. So I think that kind of just shows that there was early signs that Filoni kind of planted the seeds that if he gets the chance to express this more one day, Sabine has the ability to become a Jedi.
And again,
eventually.
there's wielding the Force and there's having the Force. Like there are aspects of the Force that are both involuntary and voluntary. Like we've seen, like that's very like you don't have to turn on the sense like to boop. I sense something.
Like Leia in Episode 5, the first time she ever uses the Force is when Luke calls out to her, and it's nothing like big or anything, but she can hear him, and she's like, "I know where Luke is." Like that's exactly the same exact thing, and no one's upset about that.
Yeah, no, it's just people just have cognitive dissonance for their own franchise they claim to like.
Dad?
No, I agree. I saw her development, and I was not, surprised at one bit. I actually liked how they built up to that point, so I had no issues with her. As a budding, Jedi. But I agree with Christian where I don't think she's a Luke Skywalker type character, but she's definitely Force sensitive and definitely a Force user.
Yeah.
So.
And most of Rebels, if your complaint was why didn't they know? Like the idea was that I think the idea like you could even take from Kanan's dialogue is Kanan maybe kinda like knew, but like they even says like you remember how she was like when we first got her. This is a very early episode actually. I think it's even before that. Like she barely trusted us. Like it took her. Remember how long it took her to trust us. So how is Kanan at that point gonna even like bring up? I think you have the Force. Like what's she going? She's a Mandalorian. She's already ostracized from her people at that point. Like massively, her family gave her up. So like on top of that, just like oh yeah, by the way, you also have like the thing that like your ancestral enemy has. They're really gonna like you even more now. Like even though you like it's like no, like this is obvious. Like it's just literally this. It's like you don't people just don't understand. It's actually a very true thing for most of the Star Wars fandom, and it's a little mean. But you don't nearly understand your own lore that you claim to love as much. Like the amount of Star Wars fans that like claim to fucking love this stuff and like have the barest of thin even concept and understanding of the lore they're trying to spout out is like come on, like just like this is like I don't think we've said anything here like that would cut down almost any argument about it unless it's just like women good at fighting, so Mary Sue. Like that's it. Like it's just she's a woman and she's a 9-year-old character. I think like we know this character had years of training. Rey like had a staff and then like picked up a saber and then proceeded to beat like the lineage of a Skywalker within like a minute and a half. So like but that was fine though.
I think the biggest they're
not the same.
The biggest thing that I think the biggest thing that cancels out that argument is in the literal first episode of Star Wars, Episode 4, Obi-Wan says, the Force is in every living thing. Yeah. So, like, you can't really be like,
And he's the perfect example, too, because Obi-Wan's not somebody that had a high midichlorian count or was, naturally supposed to be good. He got good because he worked super hard. So it shows that, like, you can put the effort in and learn it. You might not, I mean, she's going to be like a Coleman Trevor level Jedi. She's gonna be like the bottom of the barrel, like absolute shitter of a Jedi.
She's not making the All-Star game.
Yeah, she's not gonna. She wouldn't be a council member or anywhere close to a council member.
She did a force push.
Like I said, the two most basic forms: force pull, force push. That's it.
Yeah, she did like a. That's it. Like.
That's basic as it gets.
The first thing that Cal Kestis learned, the force push.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Ahsoka was taming animals when she was a baby. Like it's clearly there's different levels of force and character.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think we've got our point on this.
Yeah, I think we're good.
But I hate.
We still got a bunch of topics, so we got power through.
We can. So Anakin Skywalker replacing the father. This has been a big theory that I've seen.
We've talked about this,
and
a little bit.
I'm all for it. I think it makes. Christian said this when we reacted to the episode that Anakin. The reason Anakin getting to be a Force Ghost afterwards, after everything he's done, like replacing a Mortis God, would definitely put him up there. So I think that's actually a really good way to look at it.
And he was created by the Force. I know we say like Palpatine like did it, kind of, right? But actually, do we know that that's a 100% thing? Or
there's been Plagueis did it, Palpatine did it, the Force did it. There's been a million different theories about it.
But either way, like if he was like born of the Force, because again he doesn't have a father or whatever, so like I don't know. That's why I don't. Even the Baylan becoming the sun thing is weird to me because it's not like the Mortis gods didn't like become the Mortis gods, right? They were just like deities, right? Like so. But Anakin's almost like replacing one, but at least he was there and did almost like a ceremony or like a process, that you could like allude to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Zach, what do you think?
I think he is. I mean, I know that's kind of what the Mortis arc is supposed to be setting up, anyways. But I think it kind of just makes sense. I mean, obviously, he's super powerful and he has super high connection with the Force. But like, I think just him instantly becoming a Force ghost without like any training on it or whatever. Because obviously, Qui-Gon seems like he put the effort and time in to achieve that power. I think him just like instantly becoming one just kind of makes sense and shows the ability that he has and the role that he's kind of taking up. And I think his ability to like do whatever he did with the World Between Worlds, I think shows that I think he's kind of taken the mantle of the father, basically.
Yeah, I think it's the only thing in the lore that can really explain that away now.
It's
it's only taken 45 years.
When I always looked back at it, I always thought that the Skywalker like lineage, if you were aligned with the light side, then you just returned back into the living Force. Like, and it was kind of like a cop out, but that was kind of the only way that I could like really.
You're just doing that to justify Episode 9, and I'm not going to allow you. And I'm like,
it works.
Episode 9's a thing.
Yeah, Zach is again lobotomy. Ignore him.
Dad, what do you think?
At first, I didn't think that, but I think Zach and Christian's points are swaying my opinion now about that. Being conceived, for a better lack, of the Force sets up a very, real possibility that is,
maybe
where
like almost a secondary. Because again, there was even an idea that like, oh, maybe Anakin was never like the chosen one. He was the chosen one of this little pocket universe the entire time. That's what the theory. That's what the prophecy was about.
No,
like it is.
Well, the father does say like when they go to Mortis, you'll replace me when I'm dead, and Anakin's like, nah, I'm not. I
don't feel like it.
I don't feel like it.
Who is going to be the monster?
I assume it's something new that's like related to it all. Because like each time that like Filoni has explored it, he's added more to it instead of revisiting something that's already like been established. He just adds another layer. So, like the Mortis gods, and then they added the World Between Worlds, and now they added this whole other universe in the Purgle. Like so, yeah, I think he's just going to keep continuing to dive deeper and deeper into like one of the last big pieces of mythology that like Lucas, like stamped on Star Wars himself. So.
We can skip the next question.
What is the next question?
Oh, so I'm gonna.
We kind of talked about that. Why is Thrawn on Dathomir?
Oh, I was gonna. Yeah, let's go to why is Thrawn on Dathomir.
That's a good one, I think. At least that's a good quick one. I don't know. The only thing that we've had two things on Dathomir. We have Night Sister stuff, which is obviously why they're going back there for that reason. Otherwise, the only kind of thing that's we are aware of that's on Dathomir that's not, just Night Sistery is Zepho stuff, which we did have. Like those are definitely like Zepho like stuff on the wall. So God knows how they link to all this shit as well.
Dave Filoni,
it's kind of
the
a
master of bringing every universe together.
I personally don't think the Jedi Survivor / Jedi Fallen Order. I don't think that's gonna. I don't think we're gonna see Cal Kestis in live action.
Well, I had on here. It was like I don't think we'll see Cal either.
I think he's going to get. I think he'll put up a fight, but then I think he's going to get ruthlessly slaughtered by Vader
like
in the next
final
movie.
boss fight of Jedi Survivor 3 or whatever the hell you want to call it, or Jedi 3.
Jedi Death.
Fighting Vader.
is you probably like die in a boss fight fighting Vader, but you probably like cut off a couple of his limbs.
Yeah,
or something.
you cut off like a hand or something, and
you put up a good fight.
Yeah. Marin is a possibility.
Possibly. Because the character's pretty popular.
I definitely think that.
But Cal's real popular too. I don't know. I would like.
It really depends on what happens to him in the third.
Again,
game.
I want
depends what route they take with the third game.
I very much want a like Legends style like Luke's Jedi Order. with like a mix of new guys that Luke's found,
And
like,
we just retcon sequels, so it actually makes sense.
And some survivors of Order 6, because that was a thing. Like there were people in Luke's Jedi Order that were literal like people who somehow survived like the entire Empire. There was like a 300-year-old guy that was like Karuk or something.
I don't want to get into this. This is just a funny throwaway thing.
No,
but I
won't take it as that.
I saw a TikTok the other day, and it was like the new Jedi lineup after Ahsoka, and it was like Ahsoka, Luke, Ezra, Mace Windu. Like, no,
God.
stop.
God damn it.
He's dead.
He's
dead.
Seriously, like not ironically, like they did this unironically.
No,
oh my god.
It was like, oh my gosh.
Is this on TikTok or?
Yeah, TikTok.
You would be surprised the absolute this idiocracy
But no,
you see
they're-
on
they're-
TikTok.
About bringing in too many characters.
No, but there was like a small little temple with a couple hundred. There was like a temple of hundreds of people that were Jedi, which was realistic. Like by that point, like and there was a high, and again, most of them were children. And then it was like the X-Men, basically, was kind of what Luke's Jedi Temple was. Like, where you had, like, mostly children, then, like, a layer of, like, older ones that had, like, kind of survived or had, like, kind of graduated up through and were now knights. And then you had, like, even survivors of Order 66 and guys that were, like, even fought with the rebellion, because there were a couple in Legends that, and then they got to be like, they all interacted like in that post Legends period, and they even had like a Jedi Council of sorts. And again, they didn't have the same rules as the regular Jedi, like they adjusted them, because like guess what, Luke learned a lesson of that in the fucking Legends.
We
like
care
that,
about
like,
people.
the actual
Like-
legends that the original trilogy and the prequels like went out to send about the Jedi, but like it's
And I think they have to. I think that is one of the things that if we get the scenes between Luke and Anakin, that is what's going to be established. Is Anakin's overall like importance in how Luke is going to raise his Jedi Order, and the fact that it's okay to have feelings for people. You don't have to hide them. You just have to be able to control it and understand how to use it and like to benefit you.
Yeah.
Because even though obviously Anakin fully fell to the dark side, I think there's still some lessons Anakin can give from falling to the dark side on how to use the things that the dark side emphasizes as a Jedi to your own benefit.
One of my favorite scenes from Episode 5 in Ahsoka was when they're on the flashback of the Siege of Mandalore. And Ahsoka's like, "You're so dangerous," and no one knew. And Anakin looks at her. He's like, "That's what this is about? I committed genocide. Doesn't matter."
that is funny. Yeah.
That's it. I just murdered like almost 99% of the Jedi population.
But to be fair, I think most people are just misunderstanding the scene. He's not saying like, "Oh, that's like I did." You're still mad.
No,
about
yeah.
No, he's more like that's like what I did is affecting you.
Yeah.
He's more of what he's. But yeah, it's a funny scene, and I've seen that as well.
What do you think Thrawn's doing on Dathomir?
Dathomir is known as the Rancor planet. I think he's there to get a Rancor.
There are
He's
Rancors
gonna
in that
Boba
movie.
Fett it.
And
He
he's
needs one of
gonna
those big
come-
bats you fight.
So, yeah, that's what I think he's there.
Isn't there like a wellspring of energy specifically on like Dathomir? For there's like it's a Sith, what's it called? And Dathomiri magic is technically like a dark side Sith.
Well, there's
ability,
the well
so.
that Maul uses in Rebels to like resurrect some of the soul, like not
That's
full
what I'm saying.
bodies.
Does that thing from Clone Wars probably have some spiritual essence to it that's helpful? And I think the planet itself is a dark side nexus,
Oh, I
which
think
they
so,
need
too.
for. Which that's what I was saying. Like I think, if I remember correctly, Dathomiri magic is specifically a Sith, like not a Sith, but a dark side force manipulation.
They're gonna turn Dathomir into a Death Star and drive it around the galaxy.
That's what could they move Starkiller Base?
Yeah,
Is
they
that-
could.
Okay.
No, they could not.
Okay, so That's
I
what-
don't
I
know
feel
because
like
they
they-
said it uses a sun to charge up.
yeah, that's what. And that's what I've always said. Like, okay, so like about like and we're gonna go off on a tangent for a minute and like
Oh, no.
for Starkiller. No, because I think we probably talked about this before. But like, I hate Starkiller Base so much. Like, it's like because
instead of being a moon, it's a planet.
so does it move?
No.
Like it's like it does like.
I don't know.
So what? So once it absorbs the sun, what is it rotating around?
Nothing.
Like what that's how planets work, and like they have in rotation and in revolution. It's like a pretty important.
I never even thought
like,
about that
process.
before. That's
Yeah,
just
what do you
gonna be
mean?
another
Yeah,
thing
it
to
should
hate
float
about
in there.
When
It would
they
literally like.
fire the stupid weapon.
They did.
Right?
They did say that they.
How, does it travel? Like, does it go into?
Does it have a big engine on it now?
They
like,
said-
how did they
Like,
build
does
that?
It go through subspace
They
and end up at the planet
They said that they built a hyperspace engine into it. In the movie, they say that. So I don't know.
God, I hate the sequels, lores. Like in hiding, they built like machinery that like the Galactic Empire, which had like the entire like 20% of the galaxy as a workforce. Like the prison populations building stuff. Like the Empire was supposed to be like the opponents, like in the legends, all the Empire stuff that like came after wasn't like a technological revolution that had like it was 30 years went by, so the technology advanced. Like that's not how technology works. Like in certain scenarios, like no, like they didn't have resources. Like they could barely build the ring in hiding.
And
like
this
in
is
this
why we
show,
don't talk
5
about
years
the
after
sequels.
this, and meanwhile they're like, oh no, we built like remember Star Destroyers that were literally the biggest capital ship ever built. We built bigger ones, like in hiding without anyone knowing. Like it's like.
And this is why we don't talk about the sequels.
Well, if you're gonna do lore, make it more than pencil thin. Like.
Let's go to the World Between Worlds, new world building aspects. Consciously visiting your past,
Right,
or do we think that Anakin was more manipulating the World Between Worlds itself to show Ahsoka key points in her background?
So, I feel like it's manipulating, but where I'm like, I don't know, is because he kind of almost kicks her through like a portal, like when he's like Nightfall Anakin again. So I don't know if that's like supposed to be like she took her
Nightfall,
like.
that's cool.
Like kicked her. I don't feel like kicked her back into like the present, and like somehow the portal like allowed them. And he's just so powerful, he kind of manipulated the past, or how that functions.
Well, they're not traveling.
Yeah, they're not traveling. Because obviously nobody in the Siege of Mandalore sees Anakin.
Yeah, they're both like sentient in a memory, basically.
Yeah. So I think it's more so like he's manipulating the world between worlds, and he's just that powerful that he has the ability to do that.
I agree. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing it's most similar to is not even like Force visions that other characters like Luke have had or whatever. I mean, I guess kind of similar to like Rey's, I guess, if I want to even talk about that.
Well, even
but I would say it's mainly similar. The closest thing it is to Ezra's, like when he's in the Lothal Temple, like the 2 times he's in there, because when he's literally walking around and it's like a vision around him, even while he's walking physically through it. Whereas like Luke sees Vader in the cave, but the cave isn't changing around.
Well, the
him.
the cave changes a little bit. There's still vines and stuff, but it's like I'm sure that they just literally used the corridor from the fight that they have.
Yeah.
But it's there and it's just all veiny and stuff, so it's not like fully changed.
But it's
but
not
it
like
does.
the sheen's like shifting.
Yeah.
And falling. I think she literally, like potentially either was like on the cusp of death for something. Like she had a rock or something. Like it's like, or she was knocked out and drowning or something. But she clearly like went into the World Between Worlds because like Jason heard the fighting and stuff, so that was happening at least somewhere. I mean, it's very like this is very much leading into like again the Force is a soft magic system. If you know anything about writing, like it's very loose and like fantasy based instead of more sci-fi. It's supposed to be kind of ethereal and like whatever. That's I think kind of what we're running into here, and we're trying to overanalyze like the etherealness of it. Maybe that's probably kind of what it is. There's to a point you can analyze it, but at some point, it's just like magic, like.
God level creatures can move between worlds. Do we think that's how the gang will get back? Or do we think that maybe after Baylan's end credit scene that we kind of have,
I think her staff.
that they're going to stay there for the next season and kind of fight Baylan?
Will be a teleporter staff. Like magic.
Like the staff of Ra.
It's like, no, I don't know. Just, I don't know if it'll be like a creature per se, but it'll be some Force, like it'll be some Mortis God, like World Between Worlds shenanigans they used to get back at this point.
Because
it's not like
never,
let's go get a Purgle again. Like,
we've
what are we
never
gonna do?
seen we've never seen the World Between Worlds be used to like go to different places. We've only ever seen it used to like visit past moments.
Can Huyang go to the World Between Worlds?
Probably. I don't think like it's a.
Do you need like the soul?
I don't
do you
think
need like
Huyang has a soul.
Do they? Like it's like.
I think that's what I was thinking, but I'm not sure if that's a possibility or not. And how would they, or is
Chopper went through the weird teleport thing.
Yeah, he went.
Oh yeah, the wolf put him in his mouth, didn't he? Yes. Didn't think, all right, yeah.
Yeah, so that proves right there.
What else we got? Anything else we got here?
You can definitely travel using it, so why not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so we'll talk about the most sensitive thing right now. Who do we think's gonna get recast? Like, who do you think's gonna take over as Baylan?
I don't even know if I want to do that. I just want to appreciate, like, what's his name for now?
Ray
Like,
Steve.
yeah, I just want to appreciate. That's so offensive. Yeah, Ray Stevenson. Yeah, I don't know, like, cause he did such a good job, and I'm assume that whoever they'll pick will honor that performance, like, and we'll have a lot of respect for it, especially as like it's been very. I mean, the only one I've seen, I don't even care about the fan casting really, but like, I've seen Lee Schreiber.
Liev Schreiber, I think, is my top choice.
Like, he at least has like the essence, but again, like, we're just picking random actors.
I've seen Sean Bean. When I was researching it, I saw Sean Bean. I'm
Let's
like,
get
what are you
Steph
talking
Green
about,
in here
man?
too.
That's why I hate fan casting.
yeah.
They do this at the Doctor Who universe. If you could cast an American as a doctor, I wouldn't watch it. Just shut up.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
There's
a good talking point here as well.
I'm gonna let them figure it out.
Yeah. That's already going to be a hard enough decision. Like, that cast looked very united
Yeah.
and very, like, friendly
Oh,
with one
yeah.
another and very closely bonded. So it's got to be tough for them. And that's, yeah.
Mark Hamill.
Harrison Ford.
That'd be funny.
He's older and.
I actually
now.
want to do this last one though here that I think we skipped over.
The predictions.
We'll do that last, but I want to talk about one more real quick if we have time. We
Which
can even
one?
not do the predictions if we have to. I want to do the Ahsoka Sabine relationship one.
Okay.
How does everyone feel about? I want to start real quick with that one. So I think it's very weird because I think like a lot of people's fear was that like that a lot of the people that didn't watch the cartoons would be confused about some stuff, you know, like fill in the blanks. And we get to the first episode and we're like, oh yeah, I was Ahsoka's apprentice, and everyone's like, oh, that must have been Rebels, right? And all of us are like, no. We're like, it's just like that wasn't in that.
They
Like
definitely
we're new to that too. So like a lot of like the early part of like whatever their relationship and like I would have liked to know like why like Ezra, like Ahsoka and Sabine were not that close. Like I don't think they ever interacted on screen.
Here was my after like thinking about it and going back and rewatching some of the Rebels things that had to do with Ahsoka and Sabine.
Mm-hmm.
Sabine and Ahsoka. The last thing that Ezra says to Ahsoka and Sabine is "Come find me."
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the idea is like
when-
Ezra brings the that's at least
when
understandable.
Ezra saves Ahsoka from the world between worlds, he's like, "When you get back, come find me."
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing that he says to Sabine is, "I'm counting on you to bring me home." So I think that was a
brings the two
good
of them. Okay.
good way to bring both of them together, and they have a common mission
And
is to come find Ezra.
They kind
But
of
it was-
develop it
yeah.
into like it really does remind me of Anakin and Ahsoka's relationship in a lot of ways. Like she's very harsh on her, and like her walking away from her is almost like her fear of her ending up like how Anakin ended up. Like it's really interesting how similar it is without being similar. Like she treats Sabine a similar way that Anakin treated her. So like even before she kind of like Anakin like comes to her aid or whatever and helps her figure out what
She treats
needs
her
to
like
do.
she treats her how like strict Anakin treated her
Yeah.
for the
Yeah,
first
I was
part,
gonna say
and
that.
like in Clone Wars, like when because there are a lot of those moments, but then she gets more to like the more lighthearted, like,
Right.
you know, like quippy, like Anakin is like what the second half of the series like is what she's like.
I agree with that 100%. I saw that they were more,
A lot more
They were-
understanding as well.
yeah, and kind of not real close. And as the series developed, they did
But it's just-
develop that.
Yeah, it was just interesting because I was like everyone thought that all the non-cartoon fans were gonna be confused, and I think for like a while, like I think some of the actual people that have watched everything have exited like even more confused than the people that didn't watch any of the cartoons. I'm like, because I don't know, I just felt like there should have been a little bit more like time spent on like that, just like the overall. I think it worked well because I think the two actors like actually did a good enough job of like making it seem like it was just a very interesting decision to make to have two characters that we were already familiar with, to have them had an entire like pretty massive relationship entirely had off screen to the point that it wasn't even mentioned in any like anything else, which usually like something gets dropped here or there, but nothing. We had nothing about like these two characters from like the time that we see them at the end of Rebels to now. So they put an entire like training relationship in there, and then so these two characters have to not only play the actresses, have to play the character like the cartoon character that we kind of know, but they also have to like add to that, like that they have like animosity and like a relationship that even the viewer hasn't seen like on screen, and that was a little bit like I think awkward. I think it worked because I think they sold it and the dialogue filled in the blank for a lot of stuff, but just in terms of like overall like curiosity and lore, there was a little bit too much left.
If they do use the World Between Worlds to kind of get home, maybe we'll see, like, we'll have some conflict between Ahsoka and Sabine where we see some of the training and Ahsoka's, like, really hard on her, or she's, you know, maybe not the best teacher at the moment.
Like, they revealed the Sabine, like, maybe she's a Jedi or not thing. Like, and I guess that was an idea, like, something they wanted to use for, like, this season. But they didn't use it, like, they dropped it a few days before, like, the show came out, or, like, a week before the show came out. So it wasn't a massive part of the marketing to, like, using her will they, won't they with her Force sensitivity. God, I lost what I was talking about.
One of the things that I thought I noticed that I felt about it was that you think about those characters, they're both incredibly damaged. You know, Ahsoka for obvious reasons, but Sabine's damaged because her family's dead and her race is dead. So now they're training, and you know, whether during that time, I almost sense that they were training and then Sabine leaves, or they decide to go to Mandalore to help, or by the time they get there it's too late. Like, we don't know what happens.
I think there would have
they're
been an
both
easy
really fix. They're both really damaged, and so I feel like Ahsoka's like, you know what, she's gonna end up like Anakin if I don't get out of here.
Yeah.
And now she's in a better place, and she feels like now she can actually help Sabine more. Where back then she wasn't ready to do it because she wasn't sure she wanted to be following the Jedi way. So I feel like, to me, that's why I don't need need a whole series explaining why it falls apart. I think it's like pretty obvious.
Yeah, I don't remember if I said this last week or not, but I think like they missed an opportunity not to drop one of the Ahsoka. Like, one of the Ahsoka Tales of the Jedi episode should have been Ahsoka and Sabine.
Maybe that'll be
like
next
that
time.
should
Maybe
have
that'll be the
been
next
like maybe that
Season
like
2.
if they do Tales of the Jedi, like maybe you should show that. But that would have been cool if we had like that. Would I think of like bridge the gap a little bit more in like people's minds, and maybe would have even like acclimated the idea in people's minds like a lot earlier instead of like, you know, people have dropped it in a trailer the week before. Like, if you weren't going to use it as like that much of a like as a thing anyway, that you might as well have given it us in some content. And it would have been cool to have seen like Ahsoka's Rebels model in the Clone Wars animation style. It would have been cool to see like Sabine in Clone Wars animation style. So I think that's a massive missed opportunity.
I think maybe if they do when they do season 2, because I'm pretty sure they're doing a season 2. I hope so. If they do season 2, then maybe that will kind of like, it'll be like an episode on Baylan. It'll be an episode on Ahsoka and Sabine. It'll be how Kanan and Hera came together. There's a ton.
That would all be good. That would all be really good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that would fill in a lot of the gaps which Tales of the Jedi did, and same way that Clone Wars did, and the same way Rebels did. So, I mean, I'd love to have more animation.
I saw something that was just like Filoni going to the boardroom and just pitching like Clone Wars as like as different names, or like his cartoons as different names, and it's like, all right, Mando. It's like, yes, but Boba Fett is basically Mando. Yes, it's like this was Ahsoka Rebel sequel. Bad Batch. Oh yeah, that's not Clone Wars.
Clone Wars Part 3.
Yeah.
The Tales of the Jedi. That's also not Clone Wars.
Clone Wars, the prequel.
He's like, more Clone Wars. Rebranded. Anyway, what else we got?
Get anything left?
No.
Predictions, if we have time.
We got a couple minutes.
Okay,
Sure.
predictions, Zach.
Well, I don't really know exactly where we're going. I think we're going to get like a side-by-side thing, at least for the first half of the season, where Ahsoka and Sabine are kind of dealing with what's going on in the other galaxy. And then Ezra is kind of going to have to spirit front what's going on with Thrawn and kind of discuss with them, like, hey, like, this is what we need to worry about. This is what he has coming for us. He could have this coming. Like, so I think we're kind of almost get like a side-by-side thing of they're focusing on one thing that's a really big problem, and Ezra's focusing on another thing that's a really big problem. That's where we might start to see some of the other characters like Zeb and maybe even Rex.
We can
come
get an
back
Ezra
in.
and Leia reunion. That'd be nice, actually.
Yeah,
they had
cool.
that is actually not a bad episode of Rebels.
No,
So,
it was a good episode.
That's
That's how I think what's gonna happen. I think there's gonna be two different stories going on, and they're gonna stay in the other galaxy for a little while.
Yeah, I think it'll be the first half of the season.
Yeah.
Isn't Ezra basically evidence? Also,
Yes.
Ezra's like presence is evidence of the other galaxy.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
all
he
the other
proves
stuff,
it. If they don't believe Ezra, then
and
they're
Mon
just
Mothma
corrupt.
Mon Mothma was actually specifically, and this is why I love the cartoon stuff, because now we have like Mon Mothma like as an actual like pretty solid like decent like working relation like with Ezra Bridger. Like they was like he literally was like almost in an official position at points under her like in the rebellion.
That one senator isn't gonna believe Ezra. He's gonna be like, "Nah, you're fake. Go away."
You're a hologram. you're force projecting from you.
Or that he was hiding off somewhere and he really wasn't.
You were hiding.
Yeah.
It's like,
Dad, what do you got?
I don't know. Like I'm always like thinking ahead of like, because they always love doing a big, blow your mind. You know, they've done it with Luke. They've, now with Anakin. So I'm just, predicting they're going to put them both together. That you're going to see a Luke Anakin, come together next season.
So before I ask Rich his final opinions, we've all Zach, you haven't been here. Me and Christian and Julian and Jordan have all talked about it, and Marito has too. Would you rather have an actor recast as Luke Skywalker if they are bringing Luke Skywalker in, or would you want more of the AI face stuff?
I don't know. I really like Sebastian. I'm losing his
Sebastian Stan.
Stan, yes, thank you. I couldn't think of his last name. I think he would be, very close to. I think he's, a good actor. I don't know. Because I think they did an awesome job with the CGI, but it's not 100%. You could always say it's not exact. So I don't know. But then looking at like when they did Han and they recasted Han in his solo movie, I just it wasn't great either. So I'm kind of a toss up.
Zach.
I talked about this with Christian, just like off.
My opinions are
camera
very
before.
clear with this. I've talked about this.
I think you have to just go with the recast.
Yeah.
I don't mind the AI in short bits, but I mean, look how much better the Hayden Christensen stuff was than the Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill stuff in Book of Boba Fett, which is great for what it is.
But the voice is not.
But
there.
the voice is like you can tell it is for like an AI generator.
You could have had Mark Hamill like at least try to like do something with his actual voice instead of like no, we'll plug an AI in and deal with that.
I'm big on the recast. I mean, obviously, it's Leia's the hardest one I think to recast because Carrie Fisher's been gone for so long, and it's
Leia's
a hard
the easiest
character
because they haven't showed us like I guess they showed us her in Rogue One, but
and
she hasn't been shown like Luke's been
and
shown
the
with
infamous
face,
non-movie that you guys don't accept.
Exactly. That tough.
I think Luke. I don't know how good his stunt double is of an actor, but apparently I've heard he's been in some stuff and he's done decently well in what he's in.
Well, that's my thing.
So I would either have that guy take over with Mark Hamill's approval, or have Mark Hamill work with somebody and find the replacement. And then if you want, obviously, if Han should be there too, I would just use the guy from Solo. I don't think he's amazing, but I think he does a job.
Yeah.
And then you can also just bring in what's his face to play Lando if you want to bring Lando in too. Donald Glover.
Yeah.
You have to pull this Band-Aid off. Like you're not like the people are not going to let them like parade around CGI like ghouls. Like some of the most famous characters like ever invented. No, half of them are dead. Like I'm not gonna sit here and watch like 30-year-old like AI see Princess Leia face. Like I'm not gonna do that. Like I don't want to see I didn't the Luke stuff I didn't mind, especially even now that I know like the Mark Hamill was like at least on set and like consulting and shit and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he got to see Luke Skywalker like do cool stuff and not just be like a husk like he was in whatever. But yeah, but this is different. Like no, like this is like even beyond Star Wars. This is just like consumerism of like people won't accept it. Like it's just like if the Flash like put a nail in like the idea that you're like people didn't want like dead people like for a second AI face. Like that like bombed like the reputation of like the Flash, and that movie made no money, and was like torn apart because of its use of AI to like bring people back to life and use them as like characters and stuff. Too. Exactly. Like they're torn apart. This is not a viable strategy. It's anti-union as well to like the actors and writers unions. It's anti-performer.
Yeah, let me take it too.
And also, the last thing I'll say before I let you go, the guy that looked like Luke, like who they CGI'd his face, who did all the movement perfectly, looks like him. Like if you looked at behind the scenes shots, you didn't need to do the face swap. Like he looked about the same. Like the face swap was way better. Smoosh did a really good job. The guy they hired after he showed up Industrial Light and Magic, which is also like you're Industrial Light and Magic, and this is the only thing you've ever embarrassed yourself on, like repeatedly. Like you haven't like nailed this. Like you're the best like company ever when it comes to this stuff, and you can't nail this, and the YouTuber beats you.
They have to move on.
Yeah,
I mean, it comes right down to it. I mean, you're planning on doing some stuff that's in this time frame, and you can't do that. You can't do a Tales of the Thrawn. No, what's it? The Heir to the Empire. You can't do anything in that concept and not have Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chewie, and Lando.
You can't just plug in the rebels.
They have to be there, or it's just stupid. Like,
well, sorry.
I want to go. Like, so you gotta let them. You gotta and like it's easy. It's an easy thing because Star Trek did it. You brought in a new actor to play all those characters, but then you had one appearance from Leonard Nimoy, and he's in the movie, and he says, "You know what? Yeah, this is something different." They just have Mark Hamill have a press conference with the new actor and say, "I love this guy. He's the son I've always wanted, and I'm going to be on set helping." Yeah. And everybody will be like, "Yay!" And then we can just move on. Somebody said, "Pull the Band-Aid off." Just pull the band. We can't. You just can't do it. Like it'd be like, again, back to Star Trek for a second. Do I want the show? Well, we won't do any more Star Trek because we can't. No, just give me a new Captain Kirk. They're doing it now on Strange New Worlds, and it's great. Yeah, it's great. So they can do it. Just find good actors and good writers.
Show is recast original classic like characters from the like half that show is like is Spock.
They're legacy characters, and they're all great.
Yeah, and
nobody's got to complain about any of them.
And like in the Star Trek fans are like not any better than us.
Oh, we're probably worse than Star Wars fans.
When it comes to nitpicking shit, like come on, like they can do this. This is just like poor leadership at this point.
I was gonna say like. It's just as bad as the sequels if you don't have Luke come and help. Yeah. Like it's just like, okay, so basically what you're establishing is that you're doubling down on Luke Skywalker just doesn't give a shit, basically.
Yeah, if you do Heir to the Empire and rob him of Heir to the Empire accomplishments, which are basically many of the things that like bring Luke up to a pretty high level, like you're gonna have some problems with the fan base. You shouldn't have even touched it, brought it back if you weren't gonna like.
At that point, then everything they've built with Mando, I would mainly say the first 2 seasons, but everything they've built with Mando and Ahsoka, everything they're building in this time period, you're throwing it all out the window if you don't have Luke Skywalker. If we don't get General Jedi Master Luke Skywalker,
but we need Jedi Master.
But he has to be there wielding a lightsaber, just fucking up stormtroopers, fucking up the Empire.
He has to bring a Star Destroyer down using the Force.
Yes, bring a Star Destroyer down. I need it.
We all want to see that because, like, who cares? Who cares? We want it.
He's supposed to be the most powerful Jedi we've ever seen, and we still really haven't seen much of what he can do. Yeah. Like, I want to see what Luke Skywalker can do.
Which again, but no, don't worry, guys. There's no material. There's no source material that we can look at. No. Like, you Jack, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. All right, I think we're good.
There's no inspiration. There's no source material.
No source material at all.
There's nothing. There's no books or comics.
Christian, you said you had a question of the day.
I didn't. I thought I had it, but I never remembered it. So yeah.
Question of the day. If or when, because they have to, because they've announced that it's going to be Heir to the Empire. So when Luke Skywalker, Leia Organa, and Han Solo come back, would you care if they were CGI'd faces, or would you want them to be recasted so that it would work more smoothly with everything else going on? That's the question today. Let us know in the comments. And
I can't wait till like the Heir to the Empire movie is like, you remember anyone watch Sponge AI You know what I'm talking about? Like, let's just have like all the original trilogy characters just doing that to each other. Like, that's basically what they want. Like
The Irishman.
just like them, just like plugging in like random voice lines, like Han AI, say something to Luke AI, like Leia AI, respond to Chewie AI. Like it's just like they do AI for Chewie. Like,
Even though we have an actor playing it.
they don't even get like a dude to make a noise. Like
We have a guy.
Thank you, Zach and
thanks for
Paul,
filling
for
in.
coming
having
in
me
and
on.
jumping on
Yep,
last
thanks for
minute.
having me. Yeah.
Great job, guys.
I think this is one of the smoothest podcasts we have.
Honestly,
Don't tell Julian and Jordan that, but this was a very smooth
Hey,
podcast.
I bring a level of experience and quality when I step on the mic.
He'll be in some videos.
Um,
I have Zach planned for some.
We have a lot more coming. We have reactions to Bad Batch coming. We have a few challenges, maybe some collaborations coming. So please.
I'll tease my thing.
Oh yeah, Christian.
If you remember, once again, this was before a lot of you got here. We did some podcasts a while back that were like kind of tier lists for Star Wars characters. We're gonna do that again, but we're gonna do that in like kind of an edited like video series like format. That'll be like a little bit more like quippy and edited together like nicely, like an actual like produced YouTube video. So if you're interested in that, seeing our opinions on different Star Wars characters, all important ones. Trust me, I totally don't have 2 lists.
Random lists.
That I'm gonna make them spin wheels for to go. It's like between Glup Shido and main character.
Thank you all so much for watching, and may the Force be with you. Have a great day.